Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Nacho Tuesday. And today I have Piyanka here with Aryng. And without further ado, we'd love if you could introduce your company and what you do in a quick minute elevator pitch.
Sure. Thank you for having me here, Andy. I am the founder and CEO of Aryng. We are a data science consulting company for growth companies and a data literacy company for enterprises. We do all things. We are sort of like McKinsey's of data for growth companies. So we do all things data, data engineering, data science, analytics, and we have a very powerful framework that backs it all up called BADIR, BADIR. And that is created by me and a colleague and introduced to the world in my book, Behind Every Good Decision. And so it's open source. It can be used by anybody. It's an accelerated way to get from data to decisions.
Very cool. Yeah, we'd love to learn more about your methodology and process. Actually, if you maybe want to expand on some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Badir came about from my experience working with companies like PayPal and Adobe. What I realized was most analysts, most data scientists, or anybody you talk to who has any access to data, if you talk to them and ask them to build a dashboard or a model or analytics, ad hoc, ask them a question, they straight jump into data. I mean, this is a data decisions framework, so they straight jump into data and they go into deriving, insights and making recommendations, and they go in a loop in there. Almost nobody spends time framing the question, laying out hypotheses, working with the stakeholders to understand the decision science part of it. And so that's where Badir was born for. Badir is born from that gap that existed between business and data. And it really bridges the gap because it basically brings out BADIR is an acronym. B is business question, A is analysis plan, and D is data. So even before even before data comes in, even though it is a data decisions framework, there is a business question analysis plan, which is a fair bit of work. Mm-hmm. And that work, that framing creates the influence that data folks and data should have on business. And so and then the step 3 is data. Step 4 is I, insights. Stepwise structured way of deriving insights, not shooting shooting paintball on the wall and expect things to stick. Yep. And then making recommendations and deploying models. So that's an acronym. There's a lot in there. So when for example, at Comcast, when we trained the entire customer support team, the call center agent got Badir, but for an hour. The manager got Badir for 3 hours. The executives got Badir for 6 hours. The data scientist got Badir training, but 120 hours. So there's a lot in there, but it's also, it's kind of like telescopic. It gives a way for people to, vernacular for an organization to traverse, for a data scientist to talk to the manager, for the manager to talk to their, call center agent or whatever.
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, because a lot of people just want to collect data at all costs. Right? It's not what you do; it's how you do it. And so, just having data, especially unstructured data, could be very counterintuitive for what your business goals are. So it's very important to kind of set that framework from the very beginning. So
collecting data is really, really important, Andy. I mean, I'm always so happy when we get called for, doing. We have a client which runs ATM machines all over US. And if you walk into, for example, in 7-Eleven, the ATM machine, they collected a lot of data on what is going on, what is happening transaction wise in all of those thousands of ATM. And as a result of that, when they called us and said, hey, we need to fix this, our residual rate is really high because we are loading too much cash in places, we're loading too little cash. We need to fix this. We need to do a forecasting. We obviously were able to solve that very well and reduce residual rate. But the only way we could do that is because they had tons of data. They had 3 to 5 years of data. And we were able to use machine learning and AI to really optimize that mechanism. We couldn't have done that if data wasn't collected. And so they had out of cash, it's not perfect, but they had a lot of data for us to go figure out how much cash, basically build a forecasting model or a forecasting model, an optimizer to predict how much cash would be withdrawn per day per terminal.
Very smart. What got you to this point in your career? I guess what got you down the data path?
Oh, there's an interesting story here. So I was always interested in math, and so when I started doing my, I did a bachelor's of engineering in civil engineering as an undergrad, and then there was a lot of math, and if you can imagine building, creating, when you're basically designing a building and creating a plan for the building, there's a lot of calculations. There's force, there is mass transfer, there's torque. It's a fairly complex. Or really tall buildings, you have to design for earthquake, you have to design for fire. There's a lot of calculation that goes in there. So math is fun, and I always enjoyed that aspect of engineering. I ended up doing my master's here in US. So my bachelor's was in India, and then I ended up doing my bachelor's, a master's in engineering, environmental engineering, and then my another master's in computer engineering. I kept thinking I was on a PhD track everywhere, and I kept thinking I'm in the wrong field. But what I realized was I was really interested in math and statistics and algorithms. What I also realized after bailing out of 2 PhDs is that I am not theoretical person. I need application. And so and then I did some, out of college, but after my master's in computer engineering, I did coding job, like most computer engineers and software computer scientists do. I did that, and I was not really enjoying it. I had really low retention in any job. I kept quitting jobs after jobs, and I was like, no, this is not fun.
Sounds like most software developers.
I know. I think some people are made for that, and I was really good at coding. At some point I coded in 24 languages, but I just like, there was no fun, there was no joy. And then one day I was looking through Craigslist. I think Craigslist, which we have here. I don't know if people still use it, but I was looking through Craigslist for jobs, and I came across this job position at Adobe called senior analyst, and I read through the description. And every cell in my body woke up, and I'm like, this is me, because I'd had that perfect combination of math and analytics and statistics and business. And so through this journey with companies like Adobe and PayPal, I realized I'm about data to decisions. I'm not about data to models. When it was just the outcome was just models, algorithms, he was like, it's cool. That was the first time I could build it. I learned something new. After that, I'm like, I don't know. So that was my journey of figuring out analytics. I mean, there wasn't a field like analytics or data science, was not even termed at the point. I'm talking about 2000. Gosh, I'm talking about long back, 2005. So I'm dating myself. By the way, first AI model I built in 2002 as part of my master's program with Professor Maria Gini. So yeah.
I guess how's data strategies evolved over the last 5 to 10 years? You mentioned AI, of course, that's the big buzzword. So obviously, collecting data and utilizing it appropriately for AI is kind of a big trend. Would you be able to expand on that? Maybe some other things that have changed over the last 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go. I can go deep in it. So the foundational statistics and mathematics has existed for a really long time. We are still using some of the same concepts as it relates to basically fitting what data science or machine learning or AI, any of this is basically, you have a lot of points, a lot of uh, dots in a chart, and some algorithm is drawing a line. It's basically drawing a line, a pattern, and it's saying, oh, this dots, these population fits this line. This is in summary, in nutshell, this is what data science is. Now, the concepts of how you fit a model into a population or into some observations is really old, right? So it's very well understood. And I remember when I was building models in my master's in 2002, we had to be really good in algorithms because we had such little compute power. We had to submit it. I remember days after days, I would submit a code at 2 a.m. at night, distribute my model everywhere in any Unix server which is available, and expect and hope that by the time I log in next morning, nothing has failed. And by next evening, I get some results. Like that's one run. and then running many of those over observation, 100 observation, 200 observation, 200 runs will give you some understanding of, listen, I'm actually minimizing my error, or I'm whatever is happening. I'm going a little bit of detail, but point being, it would take you maybe, I don't know, 2 days to really do one run of a model to understand this way, the way you laid out the parameters and the way you laid out your model. Does it even, what kind of results, what kind of fit does it have? And you mostly assess results by seeing how much error between actual and predicted.
Yep.
So now you can run that in minutes. Yep. Right? So that's the acceleration which has happened due to compute and due to then also we used to run, I mean, when I was building my model, I used to write code by hand. Every loop was for I equal to, I was writing, hand coding everything. Now there are libraries which exist. People write dot fit and dot score. Dot fit is a huge, whatever dot fit you're fitting or scoring is a huge program in the back of it. We used to have to write those. So now those are available as libraries and freely available if you're using, Python libraries or R, which is what most data scientists are using. So that's what has changed from the data science aspect. From the data strategy specifically, again, imagine data storage used to be so expensive, collection of data, instrumentation. Now everything is cheap. So storage is cheap. And so now you can store a huge amount of data. Streaming is available. Streaming data was really expensive before. Streaming is available now. You can sensor data, telematics. You can basically you can have fast flowing data. You can store it and not worry about it, right? So there's lots of data to have fun with, to build your machine learning and AI models with. And now you have also computing abilities that you can, do that. So
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA, yes, and others. And then there are many players in that market now. So, yeah, I mean, basically it has evolved a lot. Everything has become faster than before, which is absolutely awesome. And that's kind of where things have gone. I think one side effect of all of this is, previously, you wanted some data 2 years ago, you wanted some data, you would get some little bit of data on your business, for example. I have a SAP system, it's my ERP system, that's my source of truth. That tells me how much money I've been paid through my invoicing system, and there's that, like, there was little data coming in. And so there wasn't an overwhelm. Now with so much data coming in, there's an overwhelm. Overwhelm is an understatement. Like, people are paralyzed by data because there's so much. Not only, you don't have one system, you have like 25 systems. Even a company, our target clients are 200 to 500 people, startup and growth companies. As they have grown, they have installed, let's get ERP system. Let's get a product analytics, like an Amplitude system. We need to say, some kind of Salesforce, some kind of sales CRM system. Let's do Salesforce. As they keep adding more and more tools, all of it generates data, but nothing matches. So now what happens is, and I have heard this from many, many CEOs who call on me and say, like, Piyanka, we were more data driven 5 years ago when we were, 70 people team. Now we are 500 and we're not data driven at all, because all we are doing is quibbling about, I can't even get a proper answer for my ARR because nothing matches. My subscription numbers doesn't. These are fundamental big numbers that does not match. And the reason is that there is so many sources of data. And as companies are growing, they're still trying to solve that problem the old way, which is basically, let's send an API from my HubSpot to Salesforce. Is there an API from my ERP, from my SAP to Salesforce, or Salesforce? Like, they're doing this within the sources. That's creating chaos. Those sources are not databases. They're not data lakes. They're not databases. What they need to do is take all the sources, do source integration, do ETL, actually
single source of truth.
And create single source of truth in a data lake, and do ETL and stuff in a data warehouse, create a data warehouse, and then source everything from there versus each of the sources. And this is what we do for a lot of our clients who are overwhelmed with data. Unfortunately, it just is a mess until they do it.
Yep.
And that's much needed. So if you have, if there are audience in the audience, there are executives from this kind of size of company, and you have an overwhelm, most likely your problem is that you have sources talking to each other versus source integration and building a data, what is called, I mean, if you want to Google what is called data engineering infrastructure, what you need is a data engineering infrastructure.
Yep.
And so that's what you need to invest in. And it doesn't have to be rocket science. It's not rocket science, and it doesn't have to be like 3 to 5 year exercise. When we are fastest in the market to build single source of truth. We have built single source of truth when the first version comes out in 2.5, 3 months with a 1.5 data engineer. So you can do it really fast if you know what you're doing and your business in perspective. So use Badir, business in perspective. So you don't boil the ocean. You don't have to solve it for all the 200 objects you have in Salesforce. You probably only need 10 objects and 15 columns from there, or maybe 20 columns from there, right? You don't need 200 columns from Salesforce, and so on and so forth. So that's, if you understand how to do that from a focus perspective, you can do it very quickly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds like there's a framework for that I've heard of that could help them. I guess,
Yes.
what else do business owners get wrong with their data strategy? And what could they do, maybe, especially for startups or companies that are just kind of going down that path? What's a good way for them to set themselves up for success with their data strategy from day one?
And it's hard. It's from day one is hard because you're just looking to grow. You're looking for your first set of customers. Then you have your first set of customers. You're looking to, then scale it. So it's very hard to say like, hey, listen, think about your data strategy, data engineering, data warehouse, data lake.
A lot of times they just collect it and they try to figure out what to do with it later, right?
later. And I think that's a natural evolution because they don't have enough data at that point. You just put a Google Analytics, you have NetSuite on the back for catching your invoices, or doing your invoices and catching your. So you have 2, 3 systems. Then you keep adding more systems. I would just say that recognize if you are feeling paralyzed, recognizing it earlier and setting it up before you build and invest in many, many sources. Part of the problem is people love the glitzy and sexy thing. So when some vendor comes in and sells you Gen AI solution, it's going to solve your customer support problem completely, right?
Yeah, put some AI in.
The problem is it can do some of the front end, but if you don't have your data infrastructure in place, you don't have data properly in one place, and it's only connecting your customer support data to that system and not all of the other data, which is what did that customer do on actually in your product? What did the customer do actually on your website? And what did they do in your sandbox? If you don't connect everything to that, you are still going to get siloed information.
Yeah.
And so I would just say to people who are listening in and like thinking about how do I set it up right, as you start feeling the pain and data is not matching, look to build data engineering infrastructure ASAP. Because and the sooner you build it, the less money, by the way, less money you would have spent. Because by the time we usually go to companies, they are incurring $3,000, $4,000 minimum per month on their AWS or whatever, right? Like, so they have, it's not like they don't have, like they have an AWS instance, they have slapped some, maybe they have a Redshift data warehouse, they have something, they're dumping data, but it's so inefficient. It's not indexed. It's basically like, I'm not coming up with a good analogy, but basically they are spending so much money, getting very low ROI and still living in chaos.
Yeah.
So I would just say you think and focus on building and by the way, building data engineering infrastructure doesn't mean, oh, I have an AWS instance and we have a Redshift data warehouse. What it means is, have you thought about what data you really need? Is that readily available in a data warehouse? Have you done source integration? Have you done ETL? Have you done physical model, logical model? Have you done proper architecture?
Yep.
If you have not done proper architecture and you've just slabbed it, and you've had some software developer build a data engineering infrastructure, it's so hard to fix it. I mean, we do this all the time. It's so hard to fix. Go in, because all of your infrastructure is keying off of those systems which are built like a software developer would build versus a data engineering. I mean, I come from software developer background, so I
know the pain.
Yeah, I know how we write code in C, and you do not write code like that. You do not build scripts like that, especially in cloud systems, in a data engineering. It's just different ways of doing it. And you need to think about how to build it as a robust system which can scale with you. By the way,
Yep.
also, the companies are actually looking to scale. So don't build a system for today.
Yeah.
Build a system that can grow with you in a way. And if it is properly physical, modeled, logical modeled, architected, it will grow with you,
Yeah.
because whoever is building it is thinking about, what kind of data, how is it flowing, how quickly, how often you need it, how often it needs to. There's a lot of nuances in building a proper data engineering infrastructure.
Yep. So I guess how can a CEO or leader of a tech or a SaaS company identify some good use cases for AI or for data opportunities within their company?
Um, there's just so much bullshit out there, Andy. Just
I've seen a lot.
so many people claiming to be doing AI strategist, AI
Mhm.
advisor.
It's a
It's
feature, not
just,
a business for a lot of people. It's not utilizing
uh,
AI in a way that's revolutionary, using the power of AI to actually do something
yeah.
new and 10x it or whatever. A lot of times
Yeah,
it's
I
work with
think Gen AI is
AI.
very powerful. Sorry, Andy.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was saying Gen AI is very powerful. AI is very powerful. Machine learning is very powerful. But I think instead of a hammer looking for a nail, I would
Yeah,
say
that's
you
exactly the
should.
problem sometimes.
Yeah, because the people are like, oh, this is new shiny thing. What can I use it in my company?
Yep.
No. What are the most important business problems your company has? And let's we call that analytics agenda. We build that for organizations when we go in, and some of our early work is actually with the executive leadership. We do a fair bit of work on competing on AI and analytics. We do a lot of education. We do a lot of hearing. We build a KPI DuPont with them, and we build an analytics agenda, which basically means these are the most important problems that your business, and it's not in thin air, out of thin air. There's a proper logic to how you build an analytics agenda, and then you figure out what the relative size of these are, right? This project, our churn right now is at um, 55%. It's really high. We should be able to reduce it to 35%. That 20% point is worth 20 million for us.
Yep.
And we believe that the churn is happening because customer support team doesn't have enough information. When the customers call in, they're not able to achieve FCR rate, first call resolution rate of X%, because they don't have all the information. That means we need a way to get the customer support information about the product's usage, the customer's background, customer's billing, whatever, right? You size it, and that's worth 20 million. And so you do 10, 20 of those projects, you figure out what the relative size.
Yep.
Then you figure out, okay, this is my problem. The first problem is worth 20 million. How am I going to solve it? A part of it is actually what we need to build is a system where we give in the customer's billing and all other information to this system, which then creates a narrative or a bubble
System.
up for the customer support.
Yep.
That's an application for Gen AI,
Yep.
right? Or we have another problem where actually we don't know why the customers are churning. So we
Yeah,
really need to find out why the customers are churning first using traditional analytics or traditional data science. And then they might be an application for Gen AI or not. But the point is, don't go looking like hammer looking for a nail.
exactly.
I think you're completely missing the boat, and you're just getting. And by the way, companies are, in truth, are doing it,
Mhm.
and they are being enamored by new vendors who are saying, we are solving your customer support issue 100%.
Yep.
The back end, the foundation doesn't exist. Yeah, we're going to plug in the system. Oh, it's not showing results. The model is going to take some time to learn. Oh, it's still not showing results. 6 months later, nothing has changed, and you are out of a couple of $1 million.
Yeah,
It's
and some
just,
people just want to think it's a replacement tool, not necessarily. It's really effective as a productivity enhancer. To your earlier point with customer support, maybe it could take all their emails that they've had with customer support and it can do a summary of it and say, this customer is complaining about this issue, and this is what this is a summary of all the conversations you've had with them right there in a snapshot. So anybody new coming in could, instead of reading
yeah,
through endless emails to try to figure out
yeah.
what's going on before they could even start to help the customer, they can
Yeah.
uh,
And not only that, that the customers actually already tried this in the sandbox and did not work, this failed. Like, not only just single source intelligence, but multiple sources. It can do that. But I would just say start from analytics agenda first.
Yep.
Figure out what are the most important business problems, size them. See what are the most important things your company, I mean, as a CEO or executive, what are the most important problems your team should be looking at before you say, yeah, what can I solve with Gen AI? Or what can I mean, today is Gen AI. I'm sure 2 years later we'll hear something else.
Yeah.
3 years ago, it was big data or AI. Before that, it was big data. Before that, it was, I don't know, data science. Like it's the same old,
Yeah. We need
good
it for
old
the pitch
stuff
deck
that
for
we
the
do.
investors.
What?
Yeah, we need it for the pitch deck for the investors.
I know. I'm told that our website doesn't have enough AI in our copy. So, because and I was like, okay, yeah, I built my first AI model 22 years ago. So yes, it doesn't have enough AI because nobody knew AI
Yeah, you're
that
like, we
time.
don't
But yeah,
talk about it. We are about it.
yeah, we use it. I mean, before you tell me that whether we use AI or not, this is part of our toolkit from long time ago, not now, long time ago. So
So I guess any other do's or don'ts for any tech leaders out there that want to start rolling out AI? We've talked about a couple great ideas for them to avoid, and some ways where they could actually apply AI in a meaningful way. Anything else you
yeah,
tell them?
my big do's, and I'll also talk about don'ts, but do's are for the executive leaders in a growth company. Fix your data. If you don't have a single source of truth, and your finance is quibbling with the product team, you have a problem. You don't have a single source of truth. Google single source of truth or whatever else, or follow some of my work. It's not rocket science. Build single source of truth. There's no alternative to building single source of truth. That's number one. Number two is don't get enamored. I mean, that's a don't. But like, what do build a analytics agenda. Do build an idea of what the most important data to dollars projects are for you,
Yeah.
before you kind of go buy solutions from vendors and consulting companies. We are consulting companies. There are enough consulting companies out there who are kind of just riding the wave of keywords. They
Yep.
really don't know what they're doing. So basically build intelligence within yourself as to what are the most important business problems for you before somebody can kind of come in and derail you and sell you point solutions, which doesn't help you. And the don't would be, don't don't get don't do your actually another do your due diligence before hiring people.
Yep.
Your AI strategist and whatever else, do your due diligence. See how long people have done what they have done.
Oh, there's
And
got to be a lot
in,
popping up now.
yes. I mean, it's just people are like newly minted AI strategists. Like, what background do you have to be an AI strategist? How
Probably a lot
long
of
have you
college
done
kids
this?
too.
Yeah. Like, just because you can do some prompt engineering makes you a data scientist or AI strategist. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, experience is everything, right?
I mean, experience is everything. I also, unfortunately, I feel like the ethics have just kind of been diluted. Like, a lot of people just claim to like, everybody is an expert now.
Yeah, they just want to jump on the new wave.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. So I mean, but it's onto the executives. I mean, they're really smart people. At least our clients we work with, they're really smart people. You have the smarts. Just go do your due diligence before you go hire companies or individuals who claim to have a certain solution. But it's also on to you to figure out what you want before you say to other people, come in and actually solve all my problem. They're going to solve. They're hammer looking for a nail. They're going to solve what they know best.
Yeah,
They're not
exactly.
going to know your business.
Hey, bring me some AI ideas. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. It's always important to ask people like, who have you worked with and what have you done for them too. So I think that goes back to track record as well, which you guys have worked with many clients. So definitely always go with people that know what they're doing, that have been in the industry for a long time. 22 years working in AI is probably more than 99% of people in the field now.
True. No, absolutely. And ask for references. Don't be, ask a good team can always provide references. And they can't, that's a red flag right there. They should be able to provide you customer references. They should be able to give you what specifically they've done for other clients. Yeah, just don't go by demos.
Yep. So what's next for Aryng? What are you guys doing next? Anything exciting coming down the pipeline?
Yeah. So we have two parts of our business as of now. We have the data science, which we do basically data science, data engineering, all things data for our growth clients, and we really enjoy doing that. We have a different model, by the way. I should clarify. Our consulting model is very different than the traditional consulting model.
Mhm.
Every individual person on our team, every billable person on our team is actually client facing. So we don't have front people, back people. There's no Chinese whisper. There are no product managers, project managers. We are very lean.
Nice.
Typically, for a company 500 people, we deploy 3 to 5 people on the and the combination of data engineer as a pod, as a data engineer, scientist, analyst. They're really efficient. So they don't have front end and back end people, and they're very efficient. And they are, I'm told, we are 6 to 7x more effective than other people, other comparable analysts at the same level.
Yep.
And engineers, because of Bader, because of that framework that we have. And then also our cost, we have a pretty significant cost advantage. So our one pod of 3 is equivalent to hiring one senior data engineer here.
Mhm.
Because a lot of folks right now are not sitting in US, they're sitting internationally. So there's a cost advantage. We are able to pass that to our clients.
Yep.
So we do that as one part of our business. We also have a pretty significant offering for our, Comcast and other big Fortune 1000 or big brand names. We do data literacy work, where we go in and we build skills within your organization. Again, using Bader, skills within your organization to how can you put data to, how can they make decisions, better decisions with whatever data they have at hand. And so skill them up appropriately. So that's our data literacy. It's led by Susan. And then the third part at some point will show up is Bader will become a wizard or a tool. We don't have that capability right now. We are not even investing in it. But at some point, we will have that expertise we'll have that tool, which is, you have if you want basically like a coach or a mentor. Bader is a coach or a mentor. How do you have this problem, and within that tool you basically type in your question, and it basically is able to help you get to the answers as if you are an analyst.
Yep.
So it's a tool for citizen analyst. It might be a tool also for data scientists and analysts, but that's coming up sometime in future. I don't know exactly when.
Sounds like an
That's
AI play.
there is going to be a pretty significant AI play there. Yes.
Very cool. So where can people learn more about your company? I know you guys are, probably listed in our, we're proud to have you guys in our SaaS and service marketplace. And I believe you guys have a special promotion there as well too. And
yeah, we do. So yeah, we are listed on NachoNacho. We are can also be found on aryng.com, aryng.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. And the promotion we have for folks on NachoNacho is that we do, when we typically go into organizations who their complaint is, we have lots of data, but we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to use it because we're getting paralyzed by it. One part of assessment we do is called tech assessment and tech readiness assessment. How ready are you? How ready is your technology to support in your decisions? And it takes 2 weeks for us to do it. We actually look through your infrastructure. Wow. And you look at your sources. We look at what is going on. We come back out with proposing solution, like this is what's not working right now. These are a couple of options. These are the paths, and this is the roadmap. And we create a roadmap for them. That we do for $5,000 typically. But for folks who are listening in, for NachoNacho subscribers, we are offering that as complimentary. Wow. So if you think, and the qualification is basically you are at least 200 people organization or around there, and you have a
stuff too.
Sorry.
That's about time in their growth where they'll really need this too. Data everywhere.
Yeah, that's where the overwhelm is pretty significant, and that you have so basically that we are doing it for complimentary for your audience. So we'll be happy to, and if they are interested in that, they can reach out at partnership@aryng.com, or my email is piyanka@aryng.com. That can be reached out as well, or find me on LinkedIn and talk about, listen, I heard about this deal. Where is it at?
Very cool. Well, that sounds like a great offer. Definitely recommend anybody check this out. If you're looking to get into AI, try to figure out your data strategy. If you feel like you've been building a great company and you're hitting that next growth curve, but you need a little bit more housekeeping when it comes to your data so you could set yourself up for success in the future, because data is definitely going to be a big part of every company's strategy going forward. I mean, if it isn't already. So it's time that you get your house in order. Definitely check out aryng.com. That's ARYNG.com. You could also check them out today, and the NachoNacho B2B SaaS and services marketplace. We get to work with the best brands and the best services. So Piyanka, once again, really appreciate working with you guys, and we're looking forward to growing our companies together.
Yes, thank you so much for having me here, Andy. All the best.
Likewise, you too. Yeah, it's pretty good.